Welcome to Politics Personified, an IG Live series presented by the Personified Group. Our special featured guest is Myles Miller, community leader in Detroit, Michigan, who's running for state representative in Detroit's 13th district. Let's get started.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Future state representative. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's hot here. Like, excuse my perspiration here.
I'm just glad that you were able to join us. So, for those of you who have been waiting for our special guest, this is none other than Myles Miller. He is a community advocate running for state representative in Michigan, right? So I know you guys used to me having guests from the Georgia area, but today we actually have a special guest from Michigan, from the state of Michigan, and he's running for District 113. It's a new district. Did I say that correctly? 113?
No, it's 13. Just the 13.
13, not 113. I'm sorry. District 13 in Detroit, in the Detroit area. So any of you from Michigan or familiar with Detroit, have some family there, definitely make sure that you continue to stay logged in. Hey, Dre and Leah, thank you for logging in tonight. So this is our 11th episode of Politics Personified. And again, our guest tonight is Myles Miller. And again, Myles is a motivational speaker, community advocate, father, husband. He does so many things for the community, especially the area of Detroit, Michigan. And he is running for state representative in a new district. So his primary election date is on August 2nd. So I wanted to have him on tonight to make sure that we can hear his heart, hear his story, and learn more about why it's important to get out and vote and why he's running for state representative. So Myles, we're going to jump right in. So I tell people, hey, listen, you love the city of Detroit, right? You're running for, born and raised in Detroit, right? And you are now running for an elected official position. Is this your first time running officially? I know you've been a community advocate. Is this your first time running?
It's my first time running as the candidate. I've worked on a lot of campaigns. I've been, behind the scenes working with other candidates, but this is my first time as the candidate.
Okay, all right, awesome. Well, tell the viewers, why are you running for state representative and why particularly in this new district in Detroit, Michigan?
Well, first and foremost, thank you everyone for, allowing me to be here today. Thank you, Lolita, for, offering this opportunity and this platform. I think a lot of people, from what I've been seeing, I really appreciate what you do, and you're helping people get the word out that, these campaigns matter. And that's first and foremost. I appreciate you for that.
Absolutely.
And with that stated, I represent an area in Detroit on Detroit's east side. Although I was born and raised on the west side, I moved over here several years ago. And this area has had an issue with being underrepresented, sometimes misrepresented, just resources not coming here as they ought to. I've worked in state government before. I've worked for a legislator before. I've worked in Detroit City Council before. And some of the things I see, I'm looking at issues every day when I walk outside, and I'm like, I can be a solution to that, because I don't feel comfortable with some of the other options that we have in the election, and trusting them to take care of this side of the fence, if you will. I have two neighbors in particular who, excuse me, please, let me perspire here. I have two neighbors in particular. When I thought about them, I thought to myself, with these two neighbors, one of my neighbors across the street, who's an elderly lady, who my children, since both their grandmothers have gone on to be with the Lord, they call her their grandmother.
Okay, special, wow.
And so it's a special connection. And she's always come to me and asked me for help with things going on in the neighborhood. See if we can get stuff done at the state level. See if we can get stuff done at the city level. At the time where I was working for either the state or the city. Right. And I thought to myself, would she be okay if I didn't run? Then I have some neighbors that's next door to me who are always, they're always figuring out ways to be helpful to everybody that comes in their midst.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, would they be okay if I didn't run? And I thought about my own children, my wife, my family.
Right.
Would they be okay if I didn't? If we just sit this one out? And so the next day I was in Lansing filing to run for state rep, because I knew they needed me.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I applaud you. I applaud anyone who takes this plunge, who takes this step, who takes this initiative. And, it takes faith, it takes integrity, it takes sacrifice, and a lot of times it takes faith, to move forward in this position. And, it's sometimes it's easy to just talk behind the scenes and just say what's going wrong, but actually presenting yourself as a solution. Now, I want to go back to that word solution because you mentioned that in your introduction. You said you want to be a solution. So share with us your vision on how you can be a solution for this community in Detroit.
Well, first and foremost, when you think about a legislator goes to the state capitol and represents a certain group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And what that legislator is there for is to represent their voices, their concerns, whatever the case may be. We have a lot of senior citizens. We have a lot of people with disabilities.
Right.
The disability community gets looked over a lot too. And the solution is that we want to make sure their voices are heard. We want to fight for labor, people who go to work every day and they want to make sure they're going to great working conditions. Everybody who has anything to do with the community on any level needs to be represented properly. They need to know they can trust that person that they send to the state capitol not only has their back, not only has their best interest at heart, but is going to fight for them in those chambers and also back at home in the community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Okay. So you've been active in the community for many, many years, born and raised in Detroit, although you're running for another side of Detroit, like kind of across the track where you were originally raised. But what was it? What made you say, you know what, this year, this is the time Myles Miller is going to put his name in and qualify for this position, especially a new district. So I want to learn more about even this new district in Detroit that many of us may not be familiar with. So tell me what really, what whispered in your ear or in your heart that said, this is your time now, Myles,
I wanted to run for state rep. I've been wanting to run for state rep for quite a while. I was working in Lansing, working in the state capitol, working with a legislator, the Honorable Latanya Garrett, who served Michigan's 7th district, which is on the west side of Detroit, and a part of a city called Highland Park.
Okay.
We got a chance to, be those people's relief. A lot of times when people call these offices, they've called everybody else they could possibly call, and you're the last line of defense. They need to know that when you pick up that phone, even if you may not be able to solve the problem, but you're gonna give them effort. And that's what I always promise people. I'm gonna give you effort. The solution that you're looking for, we may not be able to get to that, but we're gonna give you the effort to try to find some answer for your problem. I was taught that, in those situations, that we have to make sure that the people are being heard, that they don't call your office and all they get is the voicemail.
Right. And
so with that in mind, even coming home and working at city council for the Honorable Roy McAllister Jr., his theory was almost identical. It was like, hey, when people call, they need to know that we're there for them. They need to know that if I don't care if it's a tree that needs to be cut, at least somebody from the office, when they call the office, they need to know that we're going to take care of it, or that we're going to get them to the right place. And last year we had a horrible flood that wiped out a lot of people's basements, mine included. I lost my home office, just about everything that I had, like family heirlooms, everything. We lost it all.
Wow.
And actually, the only thing I was able to salvage from my office was my MacBook. Everything else had to go.
Wow.
I had just bought a new desk, a new chair, and
okay,
so
go ahead, Val.
Just purchased I just purchased my new office, and everything had to go. And so working in city council at that moment, people's phone calls were different. It was like, hey, we're losing everything that matters to us. Is there anything that can be done? Luckily we were able to get it. The governor was able to get it claimed as a natural disaster. And so a lot of people were able to recover some of their assets that way, or get money to recover it. But once you lose an heirloom, money won't replace it.
I experienced that. Definitely, yeah, in college. So I absolutely understand and, sympathize with you. I'm glad that things are turning around and on the up and up, but those things are, irreplaceable.
Right.
But, you have to put those aside and keep trekking. So, all right. So you said, listen, you saw the need. You saw the need in the community. You saw it firsthand, even from personal experience, right?
Yes.
You saw the need from different demographics, different age groups. So it wasn't just specifically like, hey, I want to help the young people or I just want to help the seniors. It's, hey, this entire community, there's a need here and I want to be part of that solution. So I've read, of course, some of your campaign messages, and I think one of your primary messages, I will defend. So can you tell us more about how you will defend District 13 in Detroit, Michigan?
So District 13 will include a portion of the east side of Detroit and a portion of the east side of the city of Warren. And here's where things get a little hairy.
Okay.
Warren is in another county. Warren is in Macomb County. Detroit is in Wayne County. And so this is the first time in quite a while that actually I've never seen it happen before like this, where the state lines cross counties. Well, Macomb and Wayne, well, Detroit and Warren usually aren't the cities that collaborate well with each other. So already we have an issue where we have to get two sides of the coin on the same page. So we got to create a synergy. So one of the things that Warren needs and depends on, they are big on education. They're big on labor. They're big on veteran affairs. They're big on making sure that the disabled community is properly taken care of.
Okay.
Ironically, on the Detroit side, those are still some of the same issues. So we have some commonalities that a lot of times don't get broadcast. We're more alike than we're not. We're both, this is a manufacturing hub right here. There are a lot of places around here. There's a lot of industry in this area. And first things first, we want to defend labor. I will defend labor because labor is important to the workforce. You got to make sure the workforce is up to par. Education, training, making sure that, a lot of times we've had several technological companies, high-tech companies like Google come here and they pass Michigan by because they say, well, the talent pool in Michigan is not that great for what we're trying to do. So Governor Whitmer actually came up with this plan called Michigan Reconnect. And what Michigan Reconnect is it allows people who have some issues with school to go back to college, go back to a community college, go back to a trade school. And so those types of things give the workforce, it empowers the workforce because it allows them to be able to get the training that they need. It allows them to be able to, get their skills up to date and on par for what the world is on, not just what may have been going on before. And it's crazy. I'll say this, but when I was on my way to make my move to Atlanta, I remember going to the airport and on a billboard en route to the airport, this was like 2006. Someone had taken out a billboard and it said, "Lord, forgive us for making GM our source." Because at that point, the car companies were starting to downsize drastically, and what it left behind was a lot of people who didn't have the skills to do anything else. For years, you get a job in the auto industry. A person who barely had education could end up, making money like a doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. So for those, blue collar, so absolutely. That was the way of life. I have many uncles that worked for GM and Ford 25 plus years, retired. So that was just the way of life. Like you said, make a very good living at that time. And that's a generation before us. Yeah. So a lot has changed. Yeah.
I mean, my grandfather spent 50 years at the Ford Rouge plant where the Mustang was built. In fact, he was there when the first Mustang rolled off the line. So it's like, I understand the value of labor. I understand the value of technology.
Right.
Because, going to college myself and actually, starting off as wanting to be a mechanical engineer and build cars.
Okay.
One of the first things we noticed was that things were changing with how things were changing with the way cars were built.
Right.
People wanted smaller cars. They wanted cars that were more fuel efficient. They wanted cars that didn't take as much maintenance.
Yeah.
And some of the cars we had on the road then they were pretty, they cost a lot of money, and they were a lot to keep up. And
Yes,
so as
absolutely.
life progressed, things got smaller, things got
Efficient.
more efficient.
Yeah.
And as you see now, people want electrical vehicles. That was taken off then. That technology was being put to use or being tried then. And so here we
Mm-hmm.
are, 20 plus years later, and people are actually able to drive electric cars.
Yes.
But the point is that there's a technology that has to be learned in order
Okay.
to be able to get to that place. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, many of our workers they were doing just enough to get by. They were okay getting the check every 2 weeks. They were okay being able to have a union job that protected them, but they weren't doing
Okay.
it. A lot of times they weren't doing enough to make sure that the next go round, that they progress as a person, that they progress
Okay.
as somebody who can be more valuable down the road for something else. And a lot of people, they suffered because they weren't ready.
Didn't have the training.
Even if the training was available, many times, again, you couldn't tell people that there was going to be any type of economic downturn. And Detroit got hit hard with the housing market as well. So,
Yeah.
it
Very
was like,
true.
over where I'm at now, this area on the Detroit side, there's a lot of vacant lots where houses once stood that had families, that
Yeah.
had people who were taxpayers who utilized the Detroit public school system, who worked right down the street and worked at these plants, who were contributors to the community. And now those places are like, there's nothing but never grass.
Right. Right. You're right. Okay. All right. So, all right. Your election day is on August 2nd.
Yes.
This is a new district. You are geared up, you're trained, you have the experience from assisting other elected officials, right? And one of my philosophies here at the Personified Group is your experience is your expertise, right? So you have this experience, so you're ready to take on this next level of community advocacy, of community leadership, right? Of
Yes.
servant leadership. So just share with us in this next 5 minutes, because we're getting ready to close, share with us your platform. What do you want to leave the people with to why they should continue to support you? Tell their friends, because everyone knows somebody in Detroit, right? We all in Detroit, somebody knows someone. So if you have the opportunity right now, this will be broadcasted again worldwide. So leave a message that will resonate with someone who says, you know what, I usually don't vote in August. I usually don't vote in the primary. I usually don't vote in the midterm election. Share with the people why this is so critical to get out and vote and what you're going to do to impact the 13th district community.
So, and thank you for that question. Here's what I want to say. Right now, they're confused about what they want to do with as far as voting. In fact, we've gotten some research done that says that absentee ballots are down considerably. People are just disengaged with the process.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this: as much as you may not like what you've been seeing, there are people who have stood up and are willing to hear your voice. You may be disgusted with what you've seen, but there's people that's willing to hear what you have to say about the disgust that you have with the system, and they're willing to take your ideas and make changes.
Okay.
They're willing to go to war for you every day. They're willing to fight for you every day. They're willing to say, you know what? I remember when I was walking and I knocked on this door, and this person said, they told me that this is the reason why they don't vote, and that reason is important to me. And so it's up to me to find solutions. It's up to a person that wants to take this seat to be a solution-minded individual, faith-based, and solution-minded. And what it's going to take is, honestly, we have to be able to think that this vote does matter. Your voice does matter. And if it hasn't mattered before, I want you to think about the 2020 election, when we had people trying to decertify your voice, decertify your vote. If your vote didn't matter, you better believe there wouldn't have been people here trying to say that your vote was illegitimate.
Right.
People they basically blamed Detroit, Michigan, and they said Detroit, Michigan was the epicenter of some things that weren't good and weren't fair.
Mm-hmm.
That means that your vote your voice does matter.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
And here's the thing. What your voice is being used for right now is the things that affect your backyard, your local government, your state representatives, your state senators. We even have a gubernatorial race this year. And without a shadow of a doubt, you can't afford to sit at home now because we've been redistricted. So now we're sharing communities with other communities that sometimes haven't always had our best interests at heart. And we have to learn to put those things aside and put a candidate in place, put a person in place who's going to fight for everybody, not just one side, not just the other, but everybody. And I believe I'm that guy, that I'm the person that you would want to be in that seat, because I'm going to answer the phone when you call. And if you can't answer it on the first ring, you leave a voicemail, and best believe we will be back in touch with you. We will get to the bottom of what your need is, because that's just how I've been trained. I've worked in nonprofits before. I've worked in a lot of areas where people needed assistance, or they needed help, or they just need to be heard.
Right.
And I'm here to tell you that your voice matters, and I'm ready to listen to what you have to say and go to work for you.
Absolutely. Okay, that is awesome. That is amazing. Something that you mentioned in your backyard.
Yes.
This election is right here in your backyard.
Yes.
It impacts your backyard. That's not something you hear many elected officials, community leaders, or as I don't like to say politicians say, it's a stigma associated with that term, but you don't hear a lot of people say that this affects your backyard. And I think that's a very powerful statement, because it absolutely affects your backyard, meaning the resources you have, housing market, it affects education, so many things that
revenue sharing from the state.
I'm sorry?
Revenue sharing from the state. That's major. If you start losing people and you start losing seats, the revenue sharing stops. It goes awry. And so, we've already been undercounted in the census. We lost a considerable amount of people, but that were possibly here and just didn't get counted. But that's about $10 million a year that the city of Detroit has lost because it may have been miscounted, and chances are it was miscounted, according to a study from the University of Michigan that was shared with the mayor of Detroit. The city was miscounted, and as a result, federal funds are going to get decreased. That's money that goes to personal protection, like the police and fire.
Right.
Those things matter. So we have to stay engaged, because if you don't get engaged, believe it, there's somebody out there who's waiting for you to drop the ball, and they're going to use your energy against you. They're going to use your vote against you, or your non-vote against you.
Yeah. So I like to say, when you don't vote, you are voting, because
Yes, you are.
When you do not vote, you are voting. You're making your decision to say, you know what, may the best person win. That means may the person who took the initiative, took the time to go and cast their vote. Essentially, you're allowing that other party, if it's in a different agenda than what you believe in, you're allowing them to make that vote for you, to be the voice for you. That's why it's so critical to get out and vote in all elections, not just the presidential election, where everyone's just, who's my president, it takes so much more. It takes more effort at the local level that's going to impact you at the federal level. So I have to say that again, it starts at the local level. That's where legislation starts, at the local level. So do not despise the local level politics. It's critical. It's important. It's life-changing. It affects your medical. It affects your education. It affects job opportunities. It affects so many areas of your day-to-day operation. So just want to make sure I leave that encouragement to please make sure you do get out and vote in Detroit on August 2nd, in Detroit, Michigan. Myles Miller is running for state representative in a new District 13. Again, that's in the Detroit area. And again, those of you who are watching, those of you who will replay this live, we all know at least one person in Detroit. We all know at least one person that's probably registered to vote. So please make sure that, you share that with your loved ones, share that with your friends, share that with your network, and say, look, make sure you vote for this young man, because he has a heart and he has a passion for the people of Detroit, for the people of the 13th district. I appreciate this time, Myles, this evening, and we absolutely wish you the best. We're rooting for you. Of course, let me know if anything I can do. I'll continue to, push your agenda to improve the Detroit area. And of course, if you ever decide to come back to Atlanta, there's plenty of work down here for you as well.
Yeah, I don't see me come back to Georgia to live, but I definitely am coming back to visit.
Oh, I can understand that as well, too. I can understand that as well. So again, everyone, thank you for tuning in tonight. This was Politics Personified, presented.
Can I say one more thing really quick?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to give you your flowers. I appreciate what you're doing. I'm very proud of what you're doing. I saw how you built this thing up from the ground up, and you have really, really transformed like how politics gets presented to the world, and I appreciate you for that. I'm proud of you.
I appreciate that, Myles. Yes, you guys keep following the Personified group. There's so much more to come. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Personified group and who are logged in tonight to, support Myles Miller, the Personified group is a personal brand development firm. And so one of the areas that we specialize in is helping elected officials, helping political candidates with their brand communication. So if you are in need, it doesn't matter if you're in Georgia. Yes, I'm located in Georgia, but I'm a remote worker, so I can work with you wherever you are due to the essence of technology. So that's one of the things that we do specialize in. So we help individuals, we help elected officials, we help nonprofits brand their story. We help tell your story. And so I've been very fortunate to work with quite a few elected officials and political candidates on their brand communication. So I had to take advantage of this opportunity to help this young man. I've been knowing him for almost 20 years now. And I've seen him, it's been a long time, almost 20 years. And I've seen him do the work locally. I've, had many conversations with him. So I know his heart. I know he's passionate. I know he's serious about helping his community. So please make sure that you continue to support him, surround him. There's going to be many opportunities for him. And we're going to all be there rooting for him and supporting him. I just want to share one of the comments. We are rooting for you. May success be in your favor. And I know you receive that, and I receive that with you.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So again, thank you all for joining us tonight for our 11th episode of Politics Personified. We'll be back again next month with another elected official, political candidate. So you guys make sure you stay tuned and follow Myles. Myles, you can follow him on Instagram at Myles W. Miller. On Instagram, that's Myles W. Miller. And then you can also follow the Personified group at Personified with an I, PERSONIFI _ right here on IG. I believe Myles and I are on most social media platforms, so LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. So look us up, follow us, learn more about how you can engage in your community, learn more about brand development from the Personified group. Again, I appreciate everyone tonight. And Myles, we're going to be rooting for you. Keep us posted.
Yes,
Let
indeed.
me know what I can do for you.
Yes, indeed. I appreciate you.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.